everybody, and welcome. I'm late.
The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have the one, the only Sportcat. I am here. I am late on YouTube. I apologize. I will blame Yergs for it. We're live on Yergs Radio. You can listen to us over there and check it out. YergsRadio.com. We are live on Radio X in Australia. Welcome to our Australian audience. And we are live on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Trovo. I don't know. We're live on a bunch of things. But if you want to join the chat and come over and give me hell, come over to YouTube. Pair are normal guys with a Z. Or you can just search out the Sportcat Show. Hello, Denise. Welcome. I apologize for being late. Hello, Chris. It was so long in the chat that Wendell promoted his show. Wendell says you all need to check out his show tomorrow evening at 8 Central, which is 7 my time, Wendell. So yeah. Everybody, I am late. I am here. Hello, KG. Welcome. And if I'm ever late, you can go over to Yergs Radio and listen to me. Me and him are probably arguing. So Yergs is a retired law enforcement officer, and I'm a medically retired paramedic, and sometimes our views differ, and I don't know, we got into a whole race conversation, which I'm going to continue because, well, some are probably going to say I'm a racist. So I don't know. Don't care. If you know me, you know me. But yeah, race is going to be an issue today. So hell, we may go viral. All right. Well, it's currently 13:29, East Coast 1:29, and it is overnight hours in Australia, 3:29 a.m. or 1:29 a.m., depending on where you are. Good morning. And it's good afternoon in New York, Chicago, and good morning in New York and in California. So now you know the time. We're 30 minutes late, so we're going to probably run 30 minutes over to all my Yergs and Radio X affiliates. So if you don't catch me there, if they turn me off, come over here and find me on YouTube. You will be glad you did. All right, well, let's jump into what we normally do here, and which is we start off with a little daily history, which is always a good thing. These go back really far, so yeah, I don't know if I want to go back to quite 1620, but Pilgrim Fathers depart the Netherlands for England on their way to America. And there for a second, I wondered why we had a photo of it, but no, that's 1917. World War I, Battle of, Passchendaele. It's the third battle, and it lasts until November 6, 1917. Approximately 500,000 casualties. That's a whole city. Wow. 1961, Israel welcomes its 1 millionth migrant. 1970 is Black Tot Day. I don't know what a black tot is, but the last day of the officially sanctioned rum ration in the Royal Navy, which started in 1740. All right, I'm going to look up Black Tot Day since I'm a racist, I guess. So let me look this up. What is Black Tot Day? It's a name given to the last day on which the British Royal Navy issued sailors daily rum ration known as the Daily Tot. Okay. And the Royal Australian Navy stopped the practice earlier in 1921 with the Canadian and New Zealanders Royal Navies following 1972 and 1990, respectively. Interesting. Well, you know, back in the day, they did give alcohol on a daily basis ration. In fact, George Washington gave so much cider to his troops, they were probably all drunk when they were taking our country. Our country was founded on probably a bunch of drunk criminals. Hey, I'm okay with it. So today in film 1912, the U.S. government censors movies and photos of boxing prize fights. Remained in place until 1940. 1959, Cliff Richard and the Shadows have their first British #1 single, Living Doll. It's the best-selling British single in 1959. I don't know that song. 1928, Halina Kopacka of Poland hurls a discus for a world record 39.62 meter to win the first gold medal in women's Olympic history at the Amsterdam Games. I can't even throw a frisbee that far. I'm not sure what the meters translation is, but I still know I can't throw a dang frisbee that far. Just because you was a drunk criminal don't mean everybody else was. Hey, don't talk badly about my relatives. So. 1703, Daniel Defoe is placed in a pillory. What is a pillory? A pillory is a writer best known for Robinson Crusoe. He was punished for publishing The Shortest Way with Dissenters, an anti-church satire. While in the pillory, however, people threw flowers at Defoe instead of the customary stones. Okay, so I'm assuming the pillory is when they've got you standing up here and you've got your hands in your head in that pillory. Okay. And the custom was stones. Interesting. Our history was not very good at times. A hurricane sinks the Spanish treasure ship in 1715. 10 Spanish ships full of gold and silver off the coast of what is now Florida. They were out from home from Cuba and sank in the storm, killing 1,000 people. Spain did recover much of the lost treasure the next year. It took until the 1960s to recover it all. 1875, Andrew Johnson, he passed away. And he had a stroke at the age of 66 in Elizabethton, Tennessee. He was a former president who rose to the presidency following the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. He was the first president to be impeached, though he was not convicted. Well, we do it regularly now. He asked to be buried wrapped in an American flag with the Constitution beneath his head, though many contemporary histories consider him one of the worst presidents in American history. Probably got a few since then that aren't too good either. 1987, an F4 tornado hits Edmonton. The tornado tears through Edmonton, Canada. It raged for an hour, killing 27 people, injured more than 300, and destroyed more than 300 homes. It's considered one of the worst natural disasters in Canadian history. They don't have tornadoes up there too often, I believe, so I can understand that. All right, so it's National Intern Day. All right, National Avocado Day. I only like avocado in guac. Is that wrong? And it's National Chili Dog Day. I will tell you that is one of my favorites during the summer is a chili dog. Got to slap some onion and mustard on it. Little jalapeno. Hell yeah. It's National Mutt Day. All right, well, everybody should have a mutt. National Raspberry Cake Day. I think I prefer the cake with, strawberries and whipped cream, that type of cake, whatever that's called. It's Harry Potter's birthday, Hawaii Flag Day, International Digital Adoption Professionals Day, Lifeguard Appreciation Day, Martyrdom Day of Shahid Adum Singh, and a National Jump for Jelly Beans Day. I haven't had jelly beans in forever. And it's Shredded Wheat Day. They still make that? All right. Uncommon Instrument Awareness Day and World Ranger Day. Catch up in the comment. And Denise says avocado toast is good. I don't know that I've ever had it, Denise. I need to try some of these things though, because, well, as you get older, your body needs different things. Chris says every day was National Intern Day for Bill Clinton. And Wendell says, what's a usually more useful than others? I'm not sure I understand, Wendell. You'll have to decode your Alabama for me. All right, well, we're going to kind of hop around from good news to weird news to stuff. Luke Bryan addresses a fan who hit him in the face during a North Dakota performance. They say he took the high road. With a career long in country music, Luke Bryan knew what it was like to have things thrown at him. For the most part, the items consist of clothing, a hat, or even a shoe. Interesting. But when performing at the North Dakota State Fair on Saturday, the country singer found himself on the receiving end of a ball. And to make matters worse, he didn't see it coming and it struck him in the face. Not skipping a beat, the singer continued to perform, but the video shared online, he discussed the video. Oh, yeah, he took one right to the face there. He took one right to the face. Wow. Hey, Soul, welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad you're here. Wendell was talking about mutts. Every day is mutt day. Everybody should have a mutt. So he decided to end the night with Country Girl, Shake It For Me. While the concert seemed to be a success, the final song caught the singer off guard, and he got struck in the face with a ball. And speaking to Taste of Country Nights about the incident, it was the last song of the night. It was a big old fun party, and I think one person just took it too far. For now, the individual who threw the ball remained unknown, but to see Brian fans at the concert, it's only a matter of time. But Brian admitted he never saw the person. He says, I mean, if I saw him throw it, I could have gone right to him. I probably would have jumped right off in there. While Brian had every right to jump off the stage, he focused more on those around him than himself. If I jump in there, there was a lot of little kids down there. At that point, if I'd even stopped and pointed somebody out, it kills the vibe of the show. Not wanting the unruly fan to ruin it for the rest, he buried his feelings and continued with his hit 2011 song alongside Dallas Davidson. Take the hit like a pro. Brian offered a glimpse from the stage. Able to see the entire crowd, he insisted, we see it. Every other entertainer out there is getting stuff. You get stuff thrown at you. So well, maybe they'll be throwing things at me if I become famous. So I doubt I'll be famous. What do you guys think? So Matt Groening, the Simpsons creator, they are always known for having prognostication. I couldn't think of the word. The show producers tease the 800th episode, Treehouse of Horror, and reveal the cast member who never was. And so in a freewheeling panel at the San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday, creator Matt Groening, the Simpsons producing team, spent half the time addressing current events and other half the time teasing about the upcoming 37th season of the Emmy-winning show, including the 800th episode. Asked if he'd ever imagined The Simpsons lasting 37 seasons, when he started to do the original shows on the Tracy Ullman Show way back in 1987, he replied, I honestly thought 36 would be where we'd end it. And then he launched to keep in and let's try this again. And then he launched into the first of many MAGA jokes, but no, there's no end in sight. We're going to keep going until somebody dies. When you know who dies, The Simpsons predicts there will be dancing in the streets until President Vance bans dancing in the streets. Oh, good Lord. That segued into the mini screamed about the viral Simpsons predicts posts filling your news feeds. He specifically wanted to shut down one that popped up in recent days involving Coldplay kiss cam scandal, in which tech CEO was caught having an affair with an HR director. Now, it united a divided nation in a collective schadenfreude. I had to look that word up. He began the next day, and after that thing went on the internet, there was like a Simpsonized version of the dumb chumps, and everyone was like, how did they do it? How did they predict it? The Simpsons did it again. They're magic. Who could be so stupid, he asked. In all of our 800 episodes, we did that those two dumb white folks, oh Lord, I don't know what to call it. The takes are done like, who could think that was one such little reactive intelligence as this is in The Simpsons? Of course, the answer is in hundreds of million people. But when you see something that claims to be a Simpsons prediction, you think for 1 second, could that have been on the show? That's all. Just think 1 second. And then they comment on, they are magic, they are wizards, they did it again. He offered the counterpoint, we are time travelers. And then he broke into some future predictions. So you're going to hear this right here. The Simpsons predict Elon Musk will be the first man to land on the moon, but he will crash land. First man to land on the Mars. Amazingly, he will crash land on Mars. He will survive, but he will radio back that he is marooned there forever. And most amazingly of all, he will be able to hear the cheering all the way from Earth. The Simpsons predicts America will return the Statue of Liberty to France. Interesting. Until all America remembers what the word liberty means. They predict kids across America will liberate their Republican parents from the cult of MAGA. And here's how you do it. Grab the remote control, go to the menu of the controls, vertical controls, look for the channel list, and delete Fox News. Good Lord. He also took some time to once again blast clickbait stories that claim the show had killed off Marge. She's like in every episode, he said. There's a new economy of headlines that try to trick you. I call it trickbait. A million headlines saying The Simpsons kills Marge, and then even those articles admit it, of course. They didn't do it. We just wanted you to read our headlines. Again, just a little ounce of thinking after you read something makes your life a little bit better. We've killed off characters, but it's always an imaginary story. He also refused to entertain the online conspiracy that there's a secret character known as Graggle Simpson that had been hidden in the background throughout the run of the show. Interesting. I didn't know who that was. And the treehouse is leading into horror, featuring Springfield being attacked by a sentient lard monster with the intro couch gag segmented, created by the Onion cartoonist Stan Kelly and Mike Pierce. And it's going to be upping the horror factor. Okay. And he says there will be a new upcoming Simpsons movie. All right. I'm there for that. And you can go check this out. There's a lot of history with The Simpsons, and there's a lot of prognostication about they did and didn't do things. Let's see. Let me catch up here. Denise, yes, please say hi. There's a bunch of you in here today. Please say hi. Hit the like button, share out, and subscribe. Yes, please. And Wendell says if you want to see an interview with Sonia, I've seen parts of it, Wendell. And let's see. Chris says Groening is a hypocrite. He had no problem cashing those checks from Fox after 37 years. No, he did not. So I saw something from Soul, but apparently she deleted it. So don't delete your comments. We love you here. All right, so we're going to go back to Cincinnati, and we're going to talk about this. And, well, they've only made their situation worse. Cincinnati they're just asking for trouble. All right, so they're going to show you the gruesome photos here in the New York Post of a severely battered face of the woman that was knocked out during the brawl. Gruesome photos show the severely bruised and battered face of the woman who was knocked out during a horrifying, now viral Cincinnati brawl. This is Holly, wrote Ohio Senator Bernardo Morano, as he shared the harrowing images of the victim who was filmed being beat so badly, she said she thought she had been killed. She wanted to have a nice evening out with friends. Instead, she got this. Moriana wrote of the gruesome injuries from the vicious beatdown on a Cincinnati street over the weekend. The grim images show Holly, who was not otherwise identified, with a huge black eye, busted lip, and showing dark bruises across her entire face and neck. 5 people have since been charged after footage of the attack went viral. The video appears to show a white man and woman being targeted by a group of largely black assailants. Now, come on, that's not what the police chief says. You're seeing it wrong. The pair were brutally punched and stomped as they cowered on the ground. The woman was eventually knocked out cold. She was struck by a grown-ass man. When I see the video, I thought she had been killed, Moriano told Fox News on Thursday, adding that the images of the injuries were graphic and horrible. Holly gave me permission to release the photos so that others will never suffer what she did, the outraged senator added. Moriano ripped the response from local lawmakers in wake of the violence, including, we're going to cover this in a minute, Cincinnati Councilwoman Victoria Parks, who claimed on social media that the victims were, quote, asking to be assaulted by the ruthless mob. They asked for that beatdown, Parks had replied to the video of the brawl on Facebook. I'm grateful for the whole story. She still stands by those comments as of going live time today. Moriano called the councilwoman and other Democrats to be booted from office. I agree, as he threatened to cut federal funding for the city if they refuse to act. This is what political leaders in Cincinnati are allowing, he raged. These idiotic political leaders that the citizens allow to have office need to go. I'm going to call out all federal agencies to review the funding that we provide Cincinnati, and I'm giving the leaders of Cincinnati 1 month to come up with a plan for them to protect civil rights of their citizens. If they don't, I'm going to ask the agencies to suspend all federal funding because we're not going to put up with this. The police chief blames us, social media. The city council person blamed the victim. The Republican continued, this is a total travesty. I'm not going to put up with it. Ohio deserves better, and Cincinnati does too. Cincinnati used to be such a beautiful town. I've been there multiple times. In fact, it's where I saw my first football game. So I used to enjoy Cincinnati. Let's see. Yes, Chris says, most peacefully beaten face, no doubt. Exactly. Yeah, and then Wendell says, yes, she is quite messed up there. Yeah. So, and KG says, I'm reading Simpsons predictions that came true. Well, share them with us. So this comes to us from a local channel in Cincinnati, WLWT Channel 5. And social media controversy is continuing, and I'm going to continue to stir it up as well. In the aftermath of the violent brawl in downtown Cincinnati, the incident unfolded on West 4th and Elm Street downtown early on 26 July. Video showing parts of the brawl started circulating online that morning. Cincinnati police say the incident began as a verbal altercation that quickly turned physical. 5 people have been charged in the fight so far, with 3 of the suspects appearing in court on Wednesday. The incident has generated controversy on social media, including from members of the Cincinnati leadership. On Wednesday, Cincinnati City Council President Pro Tem Victoria Parks commented on a Facebook video of the fight saying, quote, this is her quote, "They begged for that beatdown. I am grateful for the whole story." That is Cincinnati Pro Tem Council member Victoria Parks. The comment was followed by dozens of responses identifying her as a city council member. WLWT has reached out to Parks, who confirmed that she did post the comment and that she, quote, stands by her statement. She previously said she is not seeking re-election for city council. Well, hell, they'll probably make her president. WLWT reached out for the rest of the city council and the other city leaders for a response to Parks' comments and her stance on violence. Councilmember Mark Jeffries responded with a statement saying, "The violence we have seen is unacceptable and inaction is not an option. While we let the investigation and the law enforcement process play out, it is important that all elected officials and leaders in our community say clearly that anyone acting the way that we saw in the video will not be tolerated in Cincinnati. Anything less than that from our leaders is a failure." State leaders are responding. Of course, they posted the photos of Holly after the beatdown. Wednesday night, the Cincinnati Senator, Ohio Senator, said Cincinnati's an amazing and spectacular city. It deserves political leadership that matches the greatness of its citizens. Moriano criticized Cincinnati Mayor Aftab Pervial. Sorry, I'm probably butchering the name. Send me how it's correctly spelled. She got this. Holly gave me permission to release these photos, and we will, so that others will never suffer what she did. Yeah. They are criticizing, I think I skipped a little bit. The senator criticized Cincinnati mayor and the police chief and Hamilton County prosecutor and U.S. Senate Representative Greg Landsman. The violent incident has prompted a response from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, who has announced on Wednesday that troopers with the Ohio State Highway Patrol will be helping Cincinnati police with law enforcement duties in the city. Troopers with the Ohio State Highway Patrol will focus most of their efforts on traffic enforcement, which will allow Cincinnati officers to investigate other crimes. Ohio essentially has a package law enforcement service the state can provide in times when local authorities could use some additional help. We've done this in other cities, and it has made a big difference. In other words, the local police are failing to do their job. Let's catch up in the comment here. It's funny you mentioned the tsunami. Yes, the tsunami was not what they anticipated. They haven't got the prognostication down for tsunamis yet. So let's see. So the Ohio governor and Cincinnati mayor and police chief announced Wednesday that the Ohio State Police are coming in to help with support from the cities. They're going to focus on law enforcement, traffic law enforcement, so that other local officers can focus on other crimes. The state aviation unit will focus on supporting local violent crime reduction initiatives. A brawl that occurred last weekend has pushed the topic of safety to the forefront. A video of the fight early Saturday showed a crowd milling about before several people started throwing punches. One man fell to the ground and was repeatedly punched and kicked. They did a WWE move on him as well. So, yeah, the coordination and support will assist local law enforcement in ensuring safety of all of our residents, according to the Ohio State Police. And apparently they've done this before. Interesting, the state police is having to come in and clean up the mess there. And shockingly enough, the FBI is now coordinating and they're investigating. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has launched an investigation into the viral brawl in downtown Cincinnati that happened over the weekend, according to Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno's office. The U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on social media that the FBI has been in contact with one of the victims of the brawl that occurred on early Saturday morning at 4th and Elms. The involvement comes after a post on social media made from Moreno, who tagged Bondi, saying there is no better person to ensure justice. According to Moreno's campaign, an FBI investigation is now underway into the fight, which is caught on camera and went viral. The FBI did not confirm an investigation on Wednesday, saying they have been and continue to be closely coordinating with the Cincinnati Police Department. 5 people have been charged. 3 are in custody. 3 of those people, I'm not going to name the criminals, appeared in court and have been charged with felonious assault, aggravated riot, while one is not facing the aggravated riot charges. The other 2 are. During Wednesday's court hearing, new information came to light. Pay attention here. A Cincinnati police detective described one of them as the, quote, catalyst for what the detective described as a, quote, coordinated attack. The detectives alleged that he came up behind the victim, hitting them in the side of the face, kind of like an ambush. They also shared in court that they have more video from a camera mounted on a building in the area that allegedly shows 2 of them chasing the victims, get him on the ground, and repeatedly punch and kick him. The prosecutor's office presented a photo in court that depicted the alleged involvement, but WLWT cameras were not able to see the photograph during the hearing. One of the elected officials comments calling it a heinous attack. Cincinnati police chief said more charges could be filed in the days ahead as the investigation continued. Police chief says, now this occurred because of a lack of 911 calls. She can't make up her mind on what caused this problem. So let me give my political hot take here. If you're a white person, don't go to Cincinnati. Police chief and the pro tem people need to resign. That is uncalled for to try and stir up racial division, hate, and riot conditions. If we think for a moment, if the shoe was flipped around and that was an all-white crowd beating a black woman and a black male, the streets would be burning in most cities right now. The riots would be everywhere. So we think as a society that both are uncalled for. Why should our elected officials and our police chiefs have views otherwise? It is not down to the bartender's fault, social media's fault, somebody else's fault, personal responsibility. And as to the fact that they, quote, deserved it, let's take a look at this picture for a moment. A middle-aged white couple, I don't know that they were associated with each other, so we'll just say a middle-aged group of white people in a crowd of predominantly black people, unless you are well armed, do you think for a moment that you're going to drop a racial slur? I mean, first off, it's uncalled for to do any racial slur, but let's just think about it. Common sense. Would you do it? I don't know many people who would unless they were packing. And as far as that goes, I am pro Second Amendment, and had one of them been armed or a good guy with a weapon, may have been a total different outcome, and there may have been streets burning. But as the incidents have played out, the leaders of the city are failing the community. They are failing nationwide, showing what the Democrats, predominantly Democrats, think of law enforcement. I'm pro thin blue line, and I will support the thin blue line as long as they are doing the correct thing. And Ken, if you're listening, please prove otherwise on the other story we talked about. I will gladly admit I'm wrong if I am. All right. So we're going to go to Virginia. A politician has been doused in gasoline and set on fire. A Danville City councilman, Lee Vulgar, he's 38. He was set on fire in what police say was a targeted personal attack at his place of work, Showcase Magazine. According to the police department, officers responded to a Main Street at 11:30 a.m. after a man later identified as Vogler was doused with a flammable liquid and ignited outside his workplace. He was airlifted to a regional hospital, and the extent of his injuries is unknown. The suspect, Shotzi Michael Buck Hayes, good Lord, how many names you need, 29 of Danville, fled the scene but was arrested without incident nearby. Police said the assault stemmed from a personal matter and was not, quote, politically motivated. When reached for comment, Danville PD referred Newsweek to its press release. Based on the investigation at the time of this release, the victim and the suspect are known to each other, and the attack stems from a personal matter not related to the victim's position on Danville City Council or any other political affiliation, they said in the statement. Later Wednesday, Hayes was charged with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated malicious wounding, according to ABC 13 in Virginia. He's being held at the Danville City Jail without bond. Please keep our colleague and our brothers in your prayers, the vice mayor stated, James Buckner, to ABC. He told the TV station that he was flown by helicopter to the burn unit at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So, interesting. That goes back to my comments about murder. Usually murder is an intimate crime, that there's some relationship. So I don't know what this is, but the suspect entered the building and doused him with a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline before chasing him to the front of the office and igniting the fuel. Good Lord. Andrew Brooks, the publisher and owner of the magazine, said in Facebook video that he is conscious and able to communicate, and he was being treated at the burn center in Lynchburg. This type of senseless violence has to stop, an emotional Brooks said in a video. You do not have the right as a human being to get so upset with someone that you lash out and attempt to harm them in any way, much less this way. Okay, so this is in Lynchburg, Virginia, and we have mayors and council people saying that you do not have the right as a human being to get upset with someone enough to lash out and attempt to harm them. That's quite the opposite of what they're saying in Cincinnati. Police are interviewing the associate publisher of Showcase Magazine who witnessed the attack. Vogler has served on the city council since 2012 and is currently in a term going through 2029, according to the city's website. Elected at age 24, he became the youngest person ever elected to council. Danville City Council is a nonpartisan body. Vogler has photos with prominent Republicans and Democrats, which is what you're supposed to do. In a post on Facebook, the Faith and Freedom Coalition referred to him as a Republican. The Danville native and Virginia Commonwealth University graduate, Vogler is managing partner at Andrew Brooks Media Group and is involved in regional planning and economic development boards. He was named Virginia Local Legislator of the Year in 2017. What people are saying, this is from the mayor, said in a statement today, our community was shaken by an unthinkable act of violence against Councilman Lee Vogler, our colleague, our friend, and someone we care about deeply. He's a member of the city council family, and today that family is hurting. The statement continues, our prayers are with Lee and his loved ones. We are grateful to our first responders and law enforcement for their swift actions. Wow. Wow, what a difference. Our council is close. We've worked through challenges together, and now we face this heartbreak together. Please continue to pray for Lee and his family. We're standing with him and with each other. Virginia Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin said in a statement, our prayers go out to the city councilman who was violently attacked at his workplace earlier today. He said in a Facebook post, we pray for a swift recovery for Lee and peace to the entire Danville community. Wow, such a difference. Such a difference. The Faith and Freedom Coalition posted on Facebook, our hearts are very heavy with the shocking news from Danville, Virginia City Councilman, the dedicated Republican leader, public servant who has served the community with faith-inspired commitment, was brutally attacked and set on fire at his workplace. This senseless act of violence is a stark reminder of the rising threats facing those who stand for biblical values. Okay, I don't know that I go that far because we don't know the connection. We ask all of our Faith Freedom Coalition members to lift up Vogler and his family in prayer for healing and strength and full recovery. Let's unite in faith to condemn such hatred and advocate for stronger protections for our communities and leaders. Wow. Wow, such a difference. Chris says, notice how quickly in this case it has been determined not to be political, but yet dozens of FBI agents had to be sent to NASCAR garage before they would even consider a pull rope wasn't racist. And don't forget, Bubba Wallace is also saying that the white flag in NASCAR is racist. Yeah. Sometimes you just can't help but call stupid out. What a difference. I agree Danville is probably a much smaller city than Cincinnati and probably much closely bonded, but that's the way you approach a travesty in your community, not finger pointing and blaming other people and then getting them out on $400 bond. Put them in jail. Punish them as criminals. They are. Something's going on because I'm going to get into this. Minnesota activates the National Guard as a cyber attack erupts public services. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has activated the state's National Guard following a cyber attack on the state capitol. St. Paul city officials have not yet disclosed the nature of the cyber attack, but the July 25th breach continues to disrupt city operations and some public services. St. Paul is one of the largest cities in the U.S. with more than 300,000 residents and is the latest in a list of major cities targeted by hackers and ransomware gangs in recent years. In a statement on Tuesday, Walz said he had authorized the National Guard cyber forces at the city's request to help St. Paul recover from cyber attack, saying the magnitude and complexity of the breach exceeded the city's capacity to respond to the incident. The National Guard will help to ensure continuity of vital services and the safety and security of St. Paul's residents, Walz said. St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter said in a press conference on Tuesday, the city took its government systems offline to contain the intruders, which has sparked a citywide Wi-Fi outage. He added hold on, I got lost there. He added I just totally lost where I was at. That the Wi-Fi was out. He added the city does not store much data on its residents, but said there was a risk of data on city employees had been stolen. Interesting. I wonder why they didn't activate like the state patrol or like Georgia has a GBI, which is not the state patrol. It's a like statewide FBI. And I think every state does. I know Tennessee has a TBI. I wonder why they didn't activate them rather than the National Guard. That's kind of weird. Chris says, stupid is as stupid does. Quote from the brilliant Forrest Gump. Yes. So I think there's more to the story that they're not giving the public, because it seems to me they skipped a level of services. I don't know. But this came in as breaking news, and I've not confirmed it, but hold on, I got to figure out how to make the screen bigger so we can all read this. But supposedly Procter and Gamble has been hacked, and these are all the products that they have. Supposedly they cannot distribute products until this hack is complete. And there's going to be a shortage of these products because they can no longer distribute until it is cleared. So I haven't confirmed this. It's press time. It was a breaking story, but there's multiple cyber attacks. We talk about that at the end of most shows, that there's all kinds of cyber attacks. But if you see a product that you use or like there, you might want to go ahead and stock up in case this is a real news headline. I'm going to continue to follow it, but from the other sources I've get information from, they say that this is a thing, and a lot of these items are going to be short supply until they get it rectified. So if you see your item there from a Procter and Gamble item, items such as Bounce, the detergents, Duracell batteries, there's all kinds of cleaning products, Clorox, Tide, there's dish soap in there as well. There's Head and Shoulders. There's all kinds of products that apparently Procter and Gamble runs pretty much everything. I left that one alone, Chris. But yeah, Chris in the chat says a Tampax shortage could be messy. Oh, yeah. So if you see your item up there, you might want to get one or two extra just in case this is a real thing. And I will continue to search this out and see if there's any more info in the next coming days. But sources are saying that that's an issue. So apparently a Delta flight took a nosedive going towards the ground during an extreme turbulent landing, causing passengers to crash into the ceiling, and they ended up sending 25 to the hospital. Passengers aboard a Delta flight from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam said they feared for their lives as they plummeted over 1,500 feet, making an emergency landing. These 25 people were injured as the Delta Flight 56 was diverted to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport at 5:30 on Wednesday, 2 hours into the 8-hour journey. Delta confirmed in a statement that severe turbulence rocked the aircraft, with the witnesses describing how its impact threw people into the air as beverage carts crashed around inside the cabin. Data from flight tracking sites such as FlightAware, we use that, showed the plane plummeted 1,600 feet in 85-second span, with passengers saying that there was a moment where we thought we were going down. The flight then continued for over an hour after the terrifying altitude drop before landing safely in Minneapolis. An image from inside the aircraft, which is shown below, shows food and drinks strewn across the rear of the jet. As passengers said, flight attendants were swept off their feet. I just saw everything flying through the air, passenger Joseph Carbone told Fox Salt Lake City. I have never experienced anything like that. He said the Delta jet was hit with a wave of turbulence that people were flying before a second and third burst of turbulence battered the aircraft, and each one got significantly worse. Isn't that also how the NASA planes do when they're testing people? They do weightlessness. Don't they drop like that? I don't know what rate they drop, but they drop pretty quickly. Another passenger told ABC News that she was terrified after witnesses dozens of people being thrown into the air, and they feared the jet was going to crash land. If you didn't have your seatbelt on, everyone that didn't hit the ceiling and fell to the ground. Carts also hit the ceilings and fell to the ground. People were injured. Happened several times, so it was pretty scary. There was a moment we thought we were going down. I'm still very shaken. One lady said in particular, she got thrown up twice and landed on people. I believe she ended up with some fractured ribs. Total of 275 passengers and 13 crew were on board at the time of the mid-flight catastrophe. The Minneapolis-St. Paul Fire Department and paramedics met the shaken passengers off the jet and after the jet made its emergency landing. He said that he believes some of the injury to his fellow passengers were serious, but the exact conditions are yet not clear. From now on, when I'm not going to the bathroom or doing something, I'll be in my seat with my seatbelt on, he added. You learn that lesson real fast. I'm grateful that we're safe and sound by grace of God. Delta spokesperson said, after the incident, we are grateful for the support of all emergency responders involved. Safety is our number one value at Delta, and our Delta Care team is working directly with customers to support their immediate needs. They did not respond to a request for the status of injured passengers. So yeah, that quite harrowing. I've been in a small plane when we've made just a short drop. We had a engine flame out. It was quite scary. Quite scary. I can't imagine that. All right, this comes to us from Just the News. Top of the hour a few minutes ago. We missed it. Newly declassified informants suggest FBI conspired with Clinton to legitimize Russiagate allegations. The declassified annex is expected to show not only the Clinton campaign had a plan to generate the Russian hoax, but that the FBI was a willing participant in the plot. This comes as a possible conspiracy case ramps up. Americans are about to get another jolt from the declassified Russiagate evidence, this time showing the Obama administration had intelligence as far back as the summer of 2016 that Hillary approved an operation to manufacture the fake Russia scandal to harm Donald Trump, and the FBI would fully participate in the plan, officials told Just the News. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Republican from Ohio, who has spent years fighting to declassify the intelligence gathered from a foreign enemy and delivered to Obama, is set to release the bombshell information as early as Thursday in the form of a declassified copy of an appendix to the Russia Special Counsel John Durham's final report from 2023. A source directly familiar with the new evidence, but who declined to be named, just told Just the News that it shows the FBI officials knew of a Clinton campaign to create a fake narrative that Donald Trump was conspiring with Russia to hijack the election and to distract from the classified email scandal that was hurting her campaign during the 2016 election. In fact, there's evidence that needs to be fully vetted that foreign enemies believe the FBI would fully participate in the plan, the source said. CIA director, even foreign governments knew what Clinton was up to. Wow. The source description closely matches comments from the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, made over the weekend about the document he helped declassify that showed the foreign enemies intercepted intelligence on the Clinton's campaign. Her campaign asserted that the FBI would legitimize Clinton's false narrative by investigating the allegations, include the Clinton's campaign fund dossier written by ex-British spy Christopher Steele. What the intelligence shows is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to accelerate the fake Steele dossier. To those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire and by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to, Ratcliffe told Fox News. It has been known for years that then CIA Director John Brennan briefed President Barack Obama in the summer of 2016 about CIA obtained intelligence indicating a foreign enemy had intercepted Clinton's Russia plan hoax. Brennan's own notes on his conversation with Obama and other top officials described the foreign enemy intelligence as having captured alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on 26 July of a proposal from one of her campaign advisors to, quote, vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security services. A subsequent CIA referral to the since fired FBI director James Comey, declassified in 2020, shows that the CIA believed Clinton's false narrative would suggest Trump and Russian hackers were hampering U.S. elections and that Clinton's end goal was, quote, distracting the public from her use of private email servers. Wow, so many crooked politicians. The 2023 report revealed the intelligence community received the Clinton plan intelligence as late as July of 2016, and then CIA Director John Brennan soon alerted top administration officials, including Obama, Comey, then Vice President Joe Biden, and others. But Durham found out rather than seriously investigating this alleged Clinton scheme, the Obama administration's intelligence and law enforcement apparatus pushed forward on the baseless Trump Trump-Russian collusion saga regardless. The soon-to-be declassified appendix from Durham is anticipated to reveal the FBI was expected to embrace the Clinton campaign dirty trick. The appendix is expected to show internal Clinton campaign communications indicating the plan to carry out the hoax as described in the intercepts. According to the public report, the purported scheme by the Clintons was allegedly approved in July of 2016, smack dab in the middle of the 2016 conventions nominating Clinton for president. Durham also reported that the approval of the Clinton plan occurred the exact same day the Australian diplomat Alexander Downer, a Clinton supporter, provided the U.S. government a months-old tip about the Trump campaign associate George Papadopoulos, with Downer's tip being cited as the prediction to launch Crossfire Hurricane at the end of 2016. It appears undeniable at this point the Clinton campaign engaged in a lengthy and coordinated effort to tie Trump to Russia during the 2016 election strategy, a strategy Clinton campaign communications director Jennifer Palmieri would later detail in length in a post-election opinion piece in the Washington Post. The editorial never mentioned Clinton's role in generating the false Steele dossier and the Alpha Bank claims in the first place. Wow. This goes on and on and on. I'm not going to continue to read. You can go check this out at Just the News. This was a breaking story as we were coming to light. And Chris says, I don't buy any of this. Obama was a scandal-free president, he told me. Well, you know, Chris, you live up there, so you could give us some inside scoop on this. So it could be fake news. Who knows? Let's investigate and find out. Problem is, if your investigators are corrupt. So this comes to us from the AP. Hospital says it has never agreed to deactivate inmate's heart device before execution. Interestingly enough, this also comes out of Tennessee. Nashville, a Tennessee hospital, says it never agreed to a request by state officials who face a court order to, quote, turn off death row inmate's heart regulating implant before his execution. After a Nashville judge ordered the deactivation of his Brian Black's device, a Tennessee Department of Corrections official said in a court declaration that Nashville General Hospital said they could disable it the day before his execution, which is August 5th at 10 a.m., but wouldn't come to the prison on execution day as the judge ordered. The judge ultimately allowed some leniency, saying he could be moved to the hospital the morning of the execution. But on Wednesday, Nashville General Hospital spokesperson Kathy Poole said the medical center did not agree to participate at all, saying the hospital has no role in state executions. The statement adds a significant complication to the court case, which relied on the state's comment about Nashville General's expected involvement. The order is under appeal as the days dwindle before the execution. Black's attorneys say his heart device would continuously shock him in an attempt to restore his heart's normal rhythm due to the lethal injection of phenobarbital, but the state disputes that and argues that even if the shocks were triggered, that he wouldn't feel them. It's kind of easy for them to say. The hospital in a statement said early reports of Nashville General Hospital's involvement are inaccurate. The correctional health care provider contracted by the State Department of Corrections did not contact appropriate Nashville General Hospital leadership with its request to deactivate the implanted defibrillator, Poole said. Any assertion that the hospital would participate in the procedure was premature. Our contract is with the correctional health care providers to support the ongoing medical care of its patients. This request is well outside of that agreement. It would also require cooperation with several other entities, all of which have indicated they are unwilling. The official who gave the prior declaration connection to the Department Assistant Commissioner of Clinical Services, Jillian Breshon, said in a follow-up court filing Wednesday that a physician with the state's medical vendor, Centurion, had confirmed the August 4th and August 5th Nashville General's appointment for Black. Interesting. All right, this goes on. This basically what this guy has is an internal defibrillator because it must have a pre-existing heart medical disease. And so when they inject the lethal drug to put the man to sleep, basically, sentence him to death, the machine's going to do its job and start shocking him. And that is going to be incredibly painful. I don't know that I've ever heard of a case involving this. That's quite interesting because, yeah, somebody's going to have to deactivate. Otherwise, I would think that's going to cause a lot of pain. And I can say it's going to cause a lot of pain based on some experience. I have actually shocked people in the ambulance, and they say it's kind of like being punched by a bull in the center of the chest and then you're lit on fire. I would think with that happening repeatedly internally, that would be very horrible. So I don't know that we've ever had a case like this. This is probably going to make its way to the Supreme Court, as well it should. It's an odd case. I don't know what they can do, to be honest with you. They may have to say if you have a pre-existing condition like this, they can't do it, which I wouldn't disagree with, because you're being shot. I mean, gosh, you're getting electricity straight to your heart. That's got to be painful. All right, so also from AP, radioactive wasp. This wasn't a Simpsons prediction. I did not have this on my bingo card. A radioactive wasp nest has been found at the site where the U.S. once made nuclear bombs. What? Columbia, South Carolina workers at the site in South Carolina that once made parts for nuclear bombs in the U.S. have found a, quote, radioactive wasp nest, but officials said there's no danger to anyone. Yeah, trust them. Employees who routinely check radiation levels at the Savannah site near Aiken, which is right at the Georgia, South Carolina border, found a wasp nest on July 3rd in a post near tanks where liquid nuclear waste is stored, according to a report from the DOE. The nest had a radiation level 10 times what is allowed by federal regulations, officials say. The workers sprayed the nest with insect killer, removed it, and disposed of it as radioactive waste. No wasps were found. The report said there was a leak from the waste tanks, and the nest was likely radioactive through what it called on-site legacy radioactive contamination from the residual radioactivity left when the site was fully operational. The watchdog group Savannah River site said the report was at best incomplete since it doesn't detail where the contamination came from and how the wasp might have encountered it, and the possibility there could be another radioactive nest if there is a leak somewhere else. I am sensing that there's going to be a superhero come out of this. He's stung by a radioactive wasp and he gets his superactive powers. Wow. So yeah, if you're in Georgia, be careful. There's radioactive wasps. That's crazy. I mean, you really could. That's a comic book superhero origin story. Navy calls off search for sailor who went overboard during an exercise near Australia. And it says, shortly after publication, the Navy announced that it suspended the search for the sailor. The story and the headline have been updated. They suspended an active search for a Navy sailor who went overboard. The search was at 12:40 p.m. roughly Wednesday, 2 days after the sailor assigned to the USS George Washington was reported missing. Wow, that's pretty horrible. And we didn't hear anything about that. All right, so yeah, exactly, Chris. Oh, it's only legacy community contamination. It must be completely safe. Agreed. The White House calls backlash to the Sydney Sweeney's genes as moronic. This warped, moronic, and dense liberal thinking is a big reason why Americans voted the way they did in 2024. As according to the White House. The White House has responded to the backlash over the Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle advertising campaign, calling it warped and moronic. This is, quote, cancel culture run amok. White House Communications Director Stephen Shong tweeted on Wednesday, this warped, moronic, and dense liberal thinking is a big reason why Americans voted the way they did. They're tired of this, quote, bullshit. That's his words. Since the campaign titled Sydney Sweeney has, quote, great genes by American Eagle was released earlier this month, the Euphoria actress and clothing company has faced some serious pushback over the ad's play on words, which some saw as promoting eugenics and Eurocentrical beauty standard. The ad's viral clips featured a voiceover from Sweeney as she lies supine Wow, they used a medical term. In an American Eagle denim, genes are passed down from parents to offsprings, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. She narrates, "My genes are blue." Another clip shows Sweeney saying, "My body's composition is determined by my genes," with a G, while the camera slowly pans down her torso. In response, American Eagle Chief Marketing Officer Craig Bomers told media trade publications that the campaign's clever, even provocative language was definitely going to push buttons. Others have compared the campaign to Calvin Klein ads from the 80s featuring 15-year-old Brooke Shields as in an innuendo-laced script. American Eagle is sticking by their advertisement. Their stock grew, and it's also been reported that their jeans are out of stock in most places. Advertising may work. Chris says, "I sent you a similar pic where the same people were outraged, but fine. Others were fine with it." I'll check it out, Chris. This one, Dunkin Donuts, apparently they decided they were going to trip on it too. They weighed into the genetics ad controversy by crowning the, quote, king of summer. Summer 2025 quickly became the summer of ad controversies after several major brands waded into what many have called white supremacist dog whistles. Wow. It's an alarming development. It all started with American Eagle star Sydney Sweeney talking about her genes with a G. The ad alone would have been shocking enough, but it was quickly joined by another ad that alluded to, quote, white supremacist topics, this time from Dunkin Donuts. Here's what we know about back-to-back ad controversies and why Dunkin's decisions to jump in it with both feet is so surprising. To understand the furor behind the Dunkin Donuts and A&E ads, A&E, American Eagle ads, you have to understand what, say, dog whistle. In a political or cultural context, according to Merriam-Webster, defines a dog whistle as a coded message communicated through words or phrases commonly understood by a particular group of people, but not by others. For instance, someone wanting to send out a message to a group of people who share racist ideas might use terminology that they use amongst themselves, but that isn't necessarily overt or obviously racist, to hide it from the general public. This is what so many have accused the Dunkin ad engaging in. The ad Summer of Summer turned pretty color actor Gavin Casalegno jokes that he didn't expect to be crowned king of summer and chalks his flawless tan up to genetics. Other discussions of genetics when it comes to white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired people is considered a dog whistle for Aryan and Nazi propaganda, harking back to the 30s. A TikTok user who uploaded the ad pointed to the connection between Dunkin ad and the American Eagle have simply been a case of, I ain't pronounce that, Badir-Meinhof phenomenon, which is a frequency bias that makes you think something is more prevalent than it is because you are noticing it more often. The coincidence is uncanny if coincidence is The coincidence is uncanny if coincidence it is. People are comparing the ads to the ill-fated one by, it's not very ill-fated, they're making money on it. The furor all started when Sydney Sweeney started the American Eagle ad, and that she has great genes with a G crossed out to be replaced by genes with a J. She's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress, or I guess she's a model, and it made the ad suspect. While it could just be a poor word choice, many have pointed out that 2025, it's unthinkable not to realize how it plays out to talk about, quote, superior genes when fronting someone who meets the Aryan ideal. I just don't get it. One TikTok user commented that the Dunkin ads pointed out it hasn't even been 7 business days since the last eugenics ad. Another asked why the clothing and donut companies are even bringing genetics into their ad campaign, with another user writing, why are genetics such a common theme in commercials right now? Why do they think this makes me want to buy Dunkin? It's unclear why these companies would have used such heavily weighted language if they weren't intending for them to be, quote, dog whistles. After all, jeans have nothing to do with selling clothing or donuts. Some have suggested that the furor is much ado about nothing, but others have countered that even if they meant no harm, the connection is a historical context is undeniable. It's a disturbing connection that has many crying foul and wondering if these companies are unveiling a dark side of themselves that fans should be aware of. However, as neither company chose to speak out in defense of their ads, that's not true. All people can do is speculate and worry. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't know. And then Distractify also had this, but they, like I said, they just said that there wasn't a reply, but the brand American Eagle is getting people talking. It's accomplished its goal, but that doesn't mean the feedback was positive. This article goes on to talk about what we were just discussing, and have they released a statement regarding the campaign? It is unclear if American Eagle has released a statement regarding their controversial marketing campaign starring Sydney Sweeney. However, TMZ reported they heard from a company spokesperson right after the controversy happened, only to clarify that it had been the case, that it hadn't been the case later on. The alleged American Eagle employee had supposedly said that the video was another example of how social media is just not reflective of real life. There is a viral apology making the rounds that has been attributed to the company, but its authenticity is unconfirmed. It reads in part, "We sincerely apologize for featuring Sydney Sweeney in our recent advertisement. In hindsight, we understand the combined aspects of her blue eyes, blonde hair, and general hotness." American Eagle has not claimed the statement. It also hasn't come to say out it's fake. It appears that American Eagle is ready to let people draw their own conclusions from the commercial, regardless of what the public thought about the marketing campaign. About the marketing campaign, sales for the brand were down 5% when compared to the same time last period in 2024. I thought that was been debunked, that they actually went up. The American Eagle campaign was also launched during the most profitable time in Sydney's career. She's very popular about the romantic comedy, good Lord, Anyone But You, and she's been starring in 2 seasons of the HBO hit teen drama. All right, so then they go back into talking about why it was controversial, but the tweet that I saw, why is it got to go over here? To whom it may concern, we apologize for featuring Sydney Sweeney in our recent advertisement. In hindsight, we understand that the combined impact of her blue eyes, blonde hair, and general hotness. Also, we did not realize how big her boobs would be. She did comment that they were real, if it matters. Our marketing team has been sent to denim sensitivity training. Thank you for your feedback. Please stop emailing us. We will try to recover from the group chat fallout. I don't know if it's true or not, but if so, it's internet gold. So I don't know that it'll age well, but hey. All right, another story we were going to talk about. Diddy asked judge to throw out convictions, arguing that his, quote, freak-offs were just porn shoots. Diddy Combs on Thursday filed a motion to overturn his federal conviction for prostitution. As part of their argument, the rapper's lawyers contend that his, quote, infamous freak-offs were simply pornographic movie shoots protected by free speech and therefore did not constitute prostitution. In July, he was convicted on 2 of the 5 counts in his federal sex crimes. Specifically, he was found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. However, he was acquitted on the more serious charges related to racketeering and sex trafficking. The prostitution charges may carry a maximum sentence of up to 10 years in prison, and sentencing is set for October. Sean Combs sits in jail based on evidence that he paid adult male escorts and entertainers who engaged in, quote, consensual sexual activities with his former girlfriends, which he videotaped and later watched with the girlfriends. His lawyers wrote in their filing via Billboard magazine, this is not prostitution, and if it is, his conviction is unconstitutional. He was producing amateur pornography for later private viewing, his lawyers have argued. This is protected First Amendment conduct that has no substantial government interest, justifies prohibiting since the film depicts adults voluntarily engaging in consensual activity. And as if the story couldn't get itself even hotter, well, he pushes for the new trial, and the Trump administration is considering a pardon. Reportedly, we haven't got a confirmation. We talked about how that key facts that he is the only person ever convicted under the Mann Act, anti-sex trafficking law that was used to charge Combs on prostitutions who had no commercial motive and engaged in sex acts with consenting adults. His lawyers disputed the Mann Act charges, stating Combs did not profit from the alleged prostitution, that his payments to escorts were transactions with lawful businesses, demanding the court grant an acquittal or an absolute minimum a new trial. Said the freak-off sex performances he sometimes videotaped, which were part of testimony from his ex-girlfriends, were creative, intricate, and highly choreographed forms of, quote, amateur porn, which he said, which the lawyers are saying is protected under the First Amendment. Now, will Trump pardon Diddy? This has been going around the headline. It is unclear whether President Trump plans to pardon Diddy, with whom he was acquainted decades ago, though Deadline reported on Tuesday the president is, quote, seriously considering a pardon, citing an unnamed administration source. Trump previously told a reporter who asked in May whether he would pardon Diddy that he will, quote, look at the facts, adding he had not spoke to music mogul since he entered politics. Rolling Stones reported in May that members of Combs' team have reached out to Trump allies to discuss a possible pardon. The sources, Rolling Stone and Trump officials, had hesitated because of the severity of his charges. Trump has a history of pardoning celebrities, including rapper Lil Wayne and NBA YoungBoy, both who faced weapons charges. So stay tuned. That's going to be a headline next week, I'm sure. So, man, we're really behind today. We're going to run over, guys and gals. Let's see. Michael Jackson's dirty socks sold for $8,000. Sparkly socks worn by Jackson in a concert in 1997 were sold. In an auction for $8,822 are 7,688 notes. Socks was found by a concert technician near the Billie Jean singer's dressing room after the performance back in 97, who then framed it alongside his pass. At the time of the auction, however, the sock had alleged yellowed and frayed with time. According to the Toronto Sun auctioneer, spoke to the AFP and said the sock was initially priced at $3,400 to $4,500 by the Nimes auction house. So there you go. Michael Jackson's dirty socks were sold. You can't make this stuff up. Coors releases a deodorant you can refrigerate. Say what? Coors Light has a new cold one for you to crack open. After all, the company continues to produce its light lager. It's now expanded to the personal care space with the Dora Chill deodorant. In collaboration with brand Duretti, Coors Light launched the first ever chill deodorant, which features packaging that confirms that it's most refreshing according to the beer website. The company noted development, the first ever deodorant designed to be refrigerated next to your beer. Just like the Coors Light aluminum cans, the mountains on the packaging turn blue when it's ready for use. As for what the $15 now sold out deodorant smells like, don't worry, unlike the grainy aroma of beer, its personal care counterparts is a Rocky Mountain breeze. I can see that being a problem if you get pulled over. I'm sorry, officer. I use the Coors deodorant. That's not beer you're smelling. Wow. Well, so don't hit F10. Remind me of that. Do any of y'all remember the presidential physical fitness events when we were in high school, or hell, I was in middle and elementary? Well, Apparently that's coming back. Trump's signing an executive order that will expand his Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition and will be reviving the presidential fitness test in public schools. The event, which will feature golfer Brian DeChambeau, Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, and former New York Jets linebacker Lawrence Taylor, among others, comes as the U.S. prepares to host the 2025 Ryder Cup, 2026 FIFA World Cup, and the 2028 Summer Olympics, all of which are major feathers in Trump's cap for his second term. The president, who often boasts that he gets to oversee the milestone sporting events, has been heavily invested in making them a success. He is also used as bully pulpit to reshape cultural issues, many of which have been tied directly to sports, including new policies on transgender athletes, threatening the Washington Commanders to change its name back to the Redskins, or potentially face restrictions on a major stadium deal. This initiative appears to build on that momentum. Yes, I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but there's some of these I have still yet to complete. I brought them up to show you in case you didn't have bad enough memories of them already. The Presidential Physical Fitness Award. It shows at a particular age on the left for both boys and girls. It's denominated between the two. How many sit-ups you should do in 1 minute, how fast you should shuttle run, V-sit, I don't remember that one, the 1 mile run, the pull-ups, and the right angle push-ups. So determined by age is how many of each you're supposed to do. I remember this as great torture. So, and there's still some of these runs I don't think I've ever completed. So maybe I stand alone. I don't guess anybody else remembers this. I don't see anybody in the chat jumping up and down. So yeah. Chris, a golfer, place kicker, and no next coke addict are perfect choices for top physical. Can't make some of this stuff up, Chris. Can't make some of this up. We'll just hit the highlights on this. This comes as breaking news from the Daily Mail when we went live. That Hulk Hogan, he was age 71. He died from an acute myocardial infarction, which is what is commonly known as a heart attack, when the blood flow to the heart is suddenly blocked. In addition, it revealed that the wrestling icon had been privately battling chronic leukemia, a form of cancer that affects the white blood cells. So, a cremation approval report obtained by Page Six disclosed that Hogan had previously been diagnosed with AFib, which is a condition marked by fast and irregular heartbeat, as defined by the Mayo Clinic. He was 71. Surprised he didn't have a lot of the scans. This question is circulating. Did Ozzy Osbourne love Chipotle? Fans petitioned the fast food company to name a burrito after the late Black Sabbath frontman. Well, after rock icon Ozzy Osbourne's death on July 25th, his fans began asking Chipotle to name a burrito after him. Osbourne is famous for leading Black Sabbath, but he also loved Chipotle. He often talked about the brand on his family TV show, The Osbournes. The request showed up on change.org right after news of his death. It got popular with over 7,000 people signing it. Fan wants Chipotle to make a burrito called the Ozzy to remember him. So, all right. Ozzy Osbourne got Chipotle's first celebrity card in 2003. So, all right. So, if you want to petition, go to change.org and sign to get one made. All right. So, we're going to skim through this, but this has still got all kinds of questions. The New York City shooting suspect, well, he skipped his shift at a Vegas security job ahead of the rampage. Apparently, his security job was a pretty highly classified one for local security. The gunman who killed 4 people in a shooting at the Manhattan office building on Monday evening did not show up for his security job in a Las Vegas casino before he went on a violent rampage. He worked at the Horseshoe Las Vegas. And he didn't show up for his shift on Sunday, according to the AP. Instead, he traveled across the United States through Colorado on July 26th, Nebraska July 27th. He arrived in New Jersey as recently as Monday afternoon before making it to New York City. Monday night, police said he had entered the skyscraper at 340 Park Avenue in Midtown and immediately opened fire in the building's lobby. He shot dead NYPD officer Islam, a woman later identified as Blackstone executive Wesley LePatner, who was hiding behind a pillar. Actually, we got a little update on that. Authorities said he fired several shots in the lobby, made his way to an elevator bank where he shot Eland Eteen, an unnamed building guard, and another man. He then let a woman exit the elevator without harming her and took the elevator to the 33rd floor, where he shot and killed Julie Hyman, age 27, who worked for Rudin Management. Then he turned the gun on himself. Building is home to the headquarters of the NFL. Blackstone, a large investment in New York City, and a large investment firm. New York Mayor Adams said on Monday, police believe that he was trying to target the NFL headquarters but took the wrong elevator. Monday revealed that he had a history of mental illness. A reported note found on his body, he claimed that he suffered from the brain disease CTE. Said his brain wants his brain studied. It will be studied according to the New York coroner's office. He played high school football, and the CTE has been related to head trauma, concussions from football, and he seemed to blame the NFL. Adams said in an interview, the NFL headquarters were located in the building and he mistakenly went off the wrong elevator bank. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said an NFL employee was seriously injured in the shooting. They searched his apartment and they found medications apparently for seizures and depression. They found prescription medications for depression and epilepsy in the Las Vegas home of the shooter, sources are telling the New York Post. This discovery was made while executing a search warrant at his Sin City apartment Tuesday, a day after he stormed the skyscraper with the AR rifle, killing 4 people before turning the gun on himself. Also found in the home was a note in which he revealed he felt like a complete disappointment to his parents, including his retired cop father, sources told the Post. You can see here, there's the note that was found on him. There is the rifle, which when we looked at it the other day, I swear did not have blood on it. The NYPD revealed Wednesday that he had purchased the black BMW he used to drive from New York to Nevada, as well as the murder weapons itself from a man named Rick, his former supervisor at the Horse Show Casino in Las Vegas, where he worked as a night security guard. Police interviewed Rick after he was refugeed in the note, and in his wallet found during the killing, he wrote, "I'm sorry, Rick." Rifle used in the shootings, previously believed to be pieced together by the shooter, was actually sold to him fully assembled by Rick for $1,400. Police said Rick purchased the weapon legally for himself, then sold it to his friend, the legality of which remains unclear. So Rick is not facing any criminal charges pending examination of the Nevada state law on such transactions, and that was not known if tomorrow's intentions when he sold the gun. While searching the car, they also found a Colt Python, which is a .357 handgun, a rifle case, ammunition, and migraine medication. They keep sticking with this that he's blaming the NFL. There's a copy of a note and some more footage. And they said the mad killer's brain will, in fact, be examined as part of the autopsy, according to the chief medical examiner in New York City. The neuropathy expert was in the process of carrying out additional testing on the gunman's gray matter. His high school football coach, remember, he only played high school football. He didn't play college. Walter Robbie told the New York Post that he couldn't recall the shooter sustaining any head injuries on the field. So his coach said he didn't have head injuries. And this comes to us. Julia Hyman sought refuge in a panic room during a Midtown mass shooting, but was fatally shot by the gunman. Julia had reached the safety of a fortified panic room inside her office at the 345 Park Avenue during the Midtown mass shooting. But when she briefly stepped out, the gunman fatally shot her, according to a chilling new timeline. As he stepped out of the elevator and started firing an assault rifle, the 27-year-old employee rushed to the panic room. The panic room was hidden in the bathroom located on the 33rd floor. Officials familiar with the investigation told the Post. According to the officials, the panic room was equipped with a ballistic door, locking bolts, a hardwired phone, and even a live camera feed, which looked into the hall. When he shot through the glass and kicked it to enter the office, he then rained bullets through the glass doors of the office. There was a brief interval in his firing, and then Hyman stepped out of the panic room, after which he immediately turned and gunned her down. Officials have revealed, but it is unclear why she decided to step out of the room. She was wounded, then drug herself to a desk, reached out for a phone, but collapsed. Just moments later, he pointed the gun barrel towards himself and shot himself dead. All right. The shocking details of the New York City report emerged after piecing the timeline together from witness statements and security footage from the building. The Red Management Building also housed the NFL headquarters, which was his actual target. The shooting timeline also revealed that he grew visibly angry upon seeing the Rudman Management logo after stepping off the elevator onto the wrong floor. Despite realizing he wasn't at the NFL headquarters and Hyman was not one of his intended targets, he still gunned down the young employee who worked at the workplace for less than a year. I don't understand how they're coming to the assertion that he became angry when he realized he'd made a mistake. How do they know that? Really, how do you know that? So I was going to show this. This is what the FBI and a lot of law enforcement or training they are using for active shooter. It's called Run, Hide, Fight. Call 911 only when it is safe to do so. So essentially, if you're in an area where there's an active shooter, you should run, then you should hide, and at the last possible outcome of this, fight. So that is how they say you survive a shooting event. That is from FBI and law enforcement training, not from Sportcat. Real quick, we talked about this young lady last week. She was a German backpacker that became stranded and lost in Australia. Well, now they're trying to figure out how to get her Mitsubishi back out of this. Apparently, they did figure it out. It took 4 days to pluck it from the rugged bushland where it sat abandoned for a month. The global headline, she made global headlines with her miracle survival story after bogging her van in the remote rural Australia. She then wandered off to find help. Rescued on a lonely track 11 days later. The 26-year-old now back home in Germany, a team of locals banded together to retrieve her heavily bogged down van. For Farmer and Fire Brigade volunteer Andrew Sprigg led the charge of the complex mission, which required heavy machinery. The most difficult thing was going down the 32 kilometers of the track. It was so overgrown, Sprigg said. Originally, we thought we could use a four-wheel drive, but we eventually had to give that idea up and go for a loader. You can see there that the van was bogged down and is now being stored at a secret location until her friends can pick it up. Secret location? That sounds like super spy stuff. Questions remain about how she ended up in such a remote location, but locals hope it serves as a warning to other travelers. Rule number 1, tell someone where you're going, Sprigg said. And the second one is probably the backup plan is communication. Phones don't work very well out here. And preferably take a friend, take a car. Well, I'm assuming now you could probably have a satellite phone. Chris says, just yesterday, law enforcement was pissed. Only one person called 911 in Cincinnati. Now that the FBI says it's not necessary to do so, and only as a last result. Strange messaging. Agreed, Chris. Agreed. All right. This was an odd news story that came about. Record-breaking baby born from oldest ever embryo. You're going to have to bear with me on this because I don't know that I understand the family tree on this one. The embryo was created in 1994 when the adoptive father was still a toddler. A Christian embryo adoption agency facilitated the donation. So, toddler. The embryo was created in 1994 when the adoptive father was a toddler. The world's oldest baby has been born in the United States. On July 26, Thaddeus Daniel Pierce was born from an embryo that had been stored in a tank for just over 30 years, as reported by MIT. The embryo was, quote, adopted from the biological mother who had kept it frozen since 1994 by Lindsay and Tim Pierce, who live in Ohio. It was transferred into Lindsay's uterus in November 2024, who gave birth to Thaddeus that weekend. His adopted dad, Tim, was just a toddler when the embryo was created, and Thaddeus also has a biological sister who is now 30 with her own 10-year-old daughter. The adoptive mother, Lindsay Pierce, told Technology Review, "He is so chill. We are in awe that we have this precious baby." It all came about because the biological mother and adopting parents were linked up by a Christian embryo adoption agency. As reported to Technology Review, the baby's biological mother and father went through in the IVF treatment since the 90s. They created 4 healthy embryos, but the mother, Linda Archard, had just one of them transferred, who became now the 30-year-old biological sister of Thaddeus. The other 3 embryos were frozen in hopes of one day having another baby, but things changed. Linda and her husband separated, and when she reached menopause, she decided to reassess the future of the embryos. Linda, I don't know why this matters, a Christian, decided against donating the embryos to science or giving them to an anonymous couple. Instead, she opted for embryo adoption, which allowed her to have a say in the future parents, with the process overseen by a religious agency. Adoption on the embryos took place with Lindsay and Tim Pierce. They fitted Linda's criteria of a married Caucasian, oh, that's racist, Christian couple, and went on to have Thaddeus, a biblical name. One of the embryos stopped growing, 2 were transferred into her uterus, and 1 developed into Thaddeus, who was born. Linda is now 62, told Technology Review that he resembles his big sister. The first thing that I noticed when Lindsay sent me his pictures, how much he looks like my daughter when she was a baby. Before Thaddeus, other babies had been born from embryos 27 and 30 years old, but such cases are rare because few organizations are willing to take an old embryo, concerned about the time and manner in which they've been stored. The IVF doctor who looked after them, also a Christian, don't know why that matters, set up the adoption where the embryos were held in storage. Millions of embryos are estimated to be stored in freezers around the world, left over from IVF procedures, which often yield more than can be implanted. So I'm really confused about this. So they had an embryo in 1994, but how old? This whole story confuses me. So I guess the embryo was taken from her and stored for 30 years and then given to them. That family tree on that one's going to be messed up. I don't know. I'm going to have my wife, the genealogy expert, figure that one out for me, because I don't know how I could figure that one out. All right. So a lightning bolt, this is a new world record, has traveled an astonishing 515 miles across skies from eastern Texas to Kansas City, Missouri, set a new record for the longest lightning strike. The bolt, which occurred during a thunderstorm in October of 2017, has recently been verified by the Meteorologists Society. The phenomenon known as mega flash lightning is rare and occurs when a bolt travels more than 60 miles. So that surpassed the record previously set of 477 miles. 515-mile lightning strike. If you're into the NFL tonight, the Los Angeles Chargers play the Detroit Lions at 8 o'clock. Of course, I know most of my viewers won't be watching that. They'll be watching Big Brother. I'm going to hate I missed this game, actually. It's the Chargers and the Lions. It's the first game of the preseason. It's the Hall of Fame game. I was going to try and do this one today, but we'll do this again. This is from who is this from? BuzzFeed, and it's 33 infuriating photos that show how scary late capitalism have gotten. I'll try and do that when we got more time. And then this one is from BuzzFeed also. It's unhinged reviews, and some of them are quite funny. This is one from a Outback. I'm absolutely livid. They gave her 1 star. My husband drove all the way to pick up our Outback order, and you people forgot in capital letters the bloomin' onion. That was the only thing I wanted. Then 4 months later, she posted, my fat husband ate the blooming onion in the car and lied. I'm sorry, and I don't know how to delete reviews. Yeah, we need to go back when we have a news day and we can go over that, because that's got to be a funny headline. A funny story. All right, we're going to skim through this real quick because we are over our normally slotted time, but they are going to give us an extra half hour since we were late. So this is the FEMA Daily Operations Brief for Thursday, July 31st. Current things they're monitoring severe thunderstorms in the northern Rockies, mid-Atlantic. It's going to include excessive rain, flash flooding in the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. Critical fire weather in the Great Central Basin. And we're still talking about tropical activity in the central and eastern Pacific. Nothing new. The tropical activity that they're talking about in the Pacific appears, if it does form, it'll go out and not harm anyone. And tropical storm Iona is 860 miles southwest of Hawaii and moving at 50 miles an hour. And it does not appear that it's going to be doing anything further than weakening and moving away from the island. And tropical storm Gil is on the southern tip of the Baja. It's moving 15 miles an hour with a maximum sustained wind of 45 miles an hour. Extends out 160 miles from the center, and it's forecast to become a hurricane on Friday. We look at excessive rainfall, and we see that the Great Atlantic area up into Boston, even down to almost Florida, can expect some intense and heavy rain bursts today through Saturday. And the chance of severe thunderstorms are for later today up in the New England, possibly down in the New York area. So stay on your toes. Chris writes, congratulations to the 550-mile lightning and to the fat guy who almost got away with eating the bloomin' onion by himself. Better luck next time. Hey, the wife wasn't really on her game because it took her like 4 months to figure it out. She was definitely not Inspector Clouseau. High temperatures. Looks like Texas and Arizona is going to be the hot spots today. That cold front is pushing down and slowly dissipating extreme heat warnings. Unfortunately, I think it's probably going to continue throughout the weekend in the south, so there's not a break. The critical fire warning is in Southern California. Most of, pretty much the Four Corners area can anticipate some intense fire activity. Wildfire summaries. Yesterday there was 33 fires. I don't think they give a count on how many there are today. They're talking about one specifically in Utah that is 11% contained. So there's that. Space weather outlook, nothing to be seen there. And their common operating picture, it's pretty much as we've talked about over the past couple days. They've got 68 major declarations for disaster, 7 emergency declarations. They're working on housing missions in 11 areas, 14 supported disaster centers with 6 recovery offices. And let's see. Requests in progress for winds from Connecticut and Nebraska and New England are in the process, and they've amended several in Virginia from earlier this year. All right, let's get out of this and go to the National Weather Service daily briefing. Really doesn't show anything different. The most extensive heavy rains today goes from the Chesapeake Bay all the way up to New England, in the coastline of Virginia, Maryland, all the way up to New York. You can anticipate some severe thunderstorms. The tornadic activity doesn't look very bad today. I'll show you that next. But there doesn't appear to be much of a chance for tornadic activity today, according to both the Weather Service and NATOcast. The high winds now, that's a different subject. From Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro area, across the Chesapeake, all the way up to New York, can anticipate some high winds today. And much of the South, including the deep South, can consider some heavy winds today. So be on alert. As always, have your weather radio with you. Quickly looking at radar down in Australia, looks like you have a little bit of precipitation around the Sydney area, Brisbane on the Gold Coast, and a little bit up in top of their, Catherine, maybe a slight storm up in Catherine. We'll zoom out. Actually, we'll go to a different one for the United States, but we'll look at the satellite picture, and you see that for Sydney, today you can anticipate being rainy, 52 to 57, and down in Melbourne, it's going to be partly cloudy today with a low of 42 and a high of 55. Western Australia, Perth, you're looking at sunny, 48 to 68. The warm spot's going to be up here in Darwin, which your high is 88, sunny with a low of 76. Zoom out real quick, hop over to the United States, and we'll hit with Washington forecast for today. You can anticipate rainy conditions, a high of 89, low of 76. Down in Florida, if you're down in Tampa, you can anticipate also cloudy skies with a high of 92. Over in Odessa, where that heat is going to be the worst, sunny, a high of 66. San Francisco, you're looking at partly cloudy, 59 to 65. All the way up in Seattle, you've got a high of 80. That's unusual for Seattle. Partly cloudy, 60 is your low. Chicago, Chris, where you're at, a high of 73 and sunny. Up in Boston, where's Boston? Right there. You're looking at a high of 75, rainy with a low of 62. And yes, Brenda, it is very hot. It is very hot. All right, let's look at Trump's daily schedule. We'll go back in time to see if anything is different from yesterday. And there was a Tom Holman brief at the Sticks. I'm not sure what that means. They had a White House press office lunch lid until 12:45. And the president signed congressional bills at 1:30. 4 o'clock, he gave remarks, making Heath technology great again. Not sure what that is. Health technology. Good Lord, my glasses suck. 6:30, they put a lid on it and they closed doors for the night. Press was expected to show up at 9 a.m. today. At 12:30, president had lunch with the VP. That was closed in the private dining area. And then at 1 o'clock, the normal White House press secretary, Karen Leavitt, give her briefing in the Brady briefing room. At 4 o'clock, the president is signing an executive order. I look for that to be the healthcare order we talked about earlier. Let me update this real quick. This is from NBC4. And Mexico gets a 90-day tariff. These are latest updates. I'm just going to scan through them. Mexico gets a 90-day tariff extension. All right. And former Biden aide testifies to ex-president's fitness for office. Interesting. This came out 3 minutes ago. The top Biden aide, who is testifying before the White House investigators Thursday, defended the former president's ability to serve as commander-in-chief. What I saw day in and day out was a leader who was deeply engaged in command on critical issues, both at home and abroad, he told the Oversight Committee in his opening statement, according to a copy obtained by the AP. His opening remarks also said every president ages over the 4 years of a presidency. President Biden did as well, but he also continued to grow stronger and wiser as a leader as a result of being tested by some of the most difficult challenges any president ever faced. Steve Witkoff and Mike Huckabee will visit the Gaza tomorrow, according to the White House press secretary. U.S. and Pakistan have announced a trade agreement. That's interesting. Appeals court are skeptical on the Trump tariff authority. The federal appeals court took arguments from the Justice Department lawyer defending the president's global tariff regime. Trump has claimed he has the power to impose a vast array of new tariffs under the International Emergency Economics Powers Act. He uses of that statute as the first time since the law came into effect in 1977, but it's been invoked by presidents to impose tariffs and imports on other countries. Trump is signing an order to establish the presidential physical fitness test. I'm so against that. As a fat kid, I'm so against that. You can call me a racist. Also call me a fat kid, please. So I'm so against the presidential physical fitness. Chris says Mike Donlin is a bullshit artist. Former VP Kamala Harris is going to do her first interview since 2024 with, guess who? Stephen Colbert. It's funny, his ratings go up when he got canceled. Trump has extended the trade deadline to Mexico, and U.S. is sending the envoy to Netanyahu in Israel. They're going to visit the Gaza. Trump says he will meet with South Korea trade delegations today. Trump wishes his lawyers luck today. This came out at 8:27 a.m. before the hearing on tariffs. So he said also today at 8 o'clock this morning, Trump said his Canadian partners in U.S. could be in jeopardy because they're jeopardizing it, recognizing Palestine as a state. Also heard that they have changed to August 8th as the firm deadline for Russia, or, quote, there will be some action. Let's hope not. All right, so looking at the current weather map, this comes to us from GMA, and we see that much of the South, divided by the Mississippi from Tennessee down to the Gulf of America, Arkansas down to the Gulf of America, one side has a special warning due to the heat. The other one has a extreme heat warning. So if you're in those areas, be careful. Little Rock, it looks like you have a pretty severe thunderstorm around you. And then we're going to scan up here to New York, where some of our other friends and guests are. Washington, D.C. area, well, it looks like you've got some spotty showers and storms. Some might be quite heavy. Expect some flash flooding. Up in New York, it looks like you've got some severe thunderstorms up there that are going to extend out to the coast with all kinds of flood warnings. So be careful. And up in New England, it looks like spotty showers, but some storms coming out of Canada into the Boston region could be quite heavier. I'm sorry, coming out of Vermont. I was too far, wasn't that far north. So be on the lookout for that. Let's pop out of this real quick. Look quickly at weather warnings. And we see that Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania all have severe thunderstorms warnings. And of course, Maryland did a test message. I don't know why. Colbert and Harris will be discussing their new life coaching program, failing your way to nearly the top. Thank you, Chris. Great comment. Flash flooding in Arkansas, Alabama. You got a special weather statement. I'm going to guess that's probably some spotty showers due to the extreme heat. Arizona, extreme heat warning. Flash flood warnings are going to be for all over up in the New England and New York areas. New Jersey has one. There's a tornado warning that has 30 minutes left. Let's zoom in on this real quick. I didn't see this. If you are in the Mount Holly area, there's a tornado warning. Northeast Salem County, there's apparently a severe thunderstorm that is producing a tornado near Swedensboro, 10 miles east of Wilmington. It's moving east at a rate of 30 miles per hour. Radar indicated rotation. Flying debris will be dangerous. Please seek shelter. If you're in that area of New Jersey, which is Camden, Gloucester, I always screw that one up. In Salem, seek cover. There is a tornado on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. Now, I just said there wasn't much of a chance of a tornado warning. See, I don't know what I'm doing here. Severe thunderstorm warnings are going to extend all the way down into Florida, and there could be some flooding with those as well. Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. Well, you're not out of the picture yet. You have the heat that could produce some severe thunderstorms later today. Let's take a quick gander at the electrical activity. Let's go first up here to New Jersey and see what we see. Yeah, there's a lot of activity. That storm is pretty intense with a lot of lightning activity. So if you are up in that area, seek shelter. There is a lot of lightning in that storm, and it is moving to the east northeast. It's relatively slow. And we go up here. This is the one in Camden, I believe. It's also quite severe. But it's moving offshore, so that's good news. Over in New York, well, there's a small storm over you, but it's not producing a whole great deal of electricity as compared to the ones to the south of you. That extends from New York all the way down to Washington, D.C., that band of heavy storms with lightning. It's just past Baltimore, but it's moving to the northeast, kind of slow, and it's packing a punch. So if you're in any of those areas, pretty much, let's just extend this all the way down from Roanoke up to Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and extend that up Philadelphia up until almost New York City. That band of storms is packing a lot of power. So if you're in those areas, have your weather radar on, be prepared. There's a band right behind that that's probably going to kick you too. We see the band in the south is just south of Knoxville, extending all the way down to Mississippi, Jackson. It's going to be moving to the northeast. It's going to hit Atlanta, probably later today, Charlotte, South Carolina, over out to the Outer Banks. It looks like Columbia and Charlotte both have good little storm cells now brewing. So this storm's packing a lot of punch as it moves to the northeast. But remember, that wedge of cold air is what's pushing this down to the Gulf of America and causing those storms. Let's look real quickly before we run out of time here of power outages. And California earlier, but now we see Texas, 13,087 without power. Up in Pennsylvania, 11,000 without power. Over in California, 12,334. I'm assuming that both California and Texas are due to the heat and the demand on the grid, while Pennsylvania is probably due to storms. Take a real quick at the AI wind on the beautiful, round, perfect globe. And there's not a whole lot of wind and movement with those storms that are going from the south to the northeast. But you can see this little ridge right here, which is the cold front trying to push its way down. And it's just to the west of the Mississippi. And that's what's causing those storms off to the northeast. So we look out here to the Pacific, and those storms, well, one appears pretty well tightly formed. But if it continues on its current path, it's just going to go out to sea with nothing. Doing no damage. Down in Australia, let's drop down there real quick. And we see that it's not too much of a windy day in Australia today. It looks like, though, the winds are extending from the center of the continent and over to the west. So there's going to be a slight breeze, but nothing significant. And we zoom out and see there is a lot of activity south of Australia, all the way down to Antarctica. Antarctica, the South Pole. That's Antarctica, right? Or no, Antarctica is the North Pole. I don't know. All right. The South Pole. How about that? Just South Pole. We look at the droughts. This just came out today. This is the drought map for the United States. You see that pretty much down here along the border of Mexico from Texas all the way over to California, extreme drought conditions. These yellow conditions in the south are probably based on population as to the amount of water, but Texas right now is in the worst shape, extending over to California with the drought. Extreme weather conditions up in Idaho, all the way over really to the Dakotas. You can see that there's some drought areas, and believe it or not, even the Seattle area is not out of the picture. Now, like I said, I believe that's due to the population, number of people as to the percentage of water. As the drought map. Look at current temperatures real quick. And let's drop down to Australia first. We'll come back to us, since I know our Australian listeners have been hanging with us for a little bit. It's chilly down there. Currently, we're looking at Brisbane, 54 degrees. And we're looking all the way down in Melbourne, 43 degrees. In South Australia, it's in the 40s. In Alice Springs, you're looking at 42. Warm part is up here in Catherine, and Darwin is 76. Broome, 63. Port Hedgeland is 60. And it is cold down in Albany at 50. I say cold because we're getting Right now, Atlanta is currently 86. And Boston, you are 86 as well. Philly, 84. New York City, 81. Go over to Chicago, 73. Up in Boston is 66. That's a cool spot. Where is the hot spot? Dallas is 102. Houston, 92. Odessa, 95. Well, there we have 105 in Phoenix, 72 in San Diego, while LA is 83, 99 in Las Vegas. Whew, it's a warm one. Seattle, 72. And we see that cold front is trying real hard to get these temperatures to push down, but it's going to take for the South. You're going to be under the gun for the next little bit. So hang in there. It's coming. And the heat risk, we've talked about this pretty much from Florida up through Georgia into Tennessee, back over to the Outer Banks or Southwest Virginia. Code magenta, not purple, magenta. And then from New York down to the Gulf of America over to the Texas-Mexican border, pretty much all of that area a code orange. What that means for those areas is that there's a severe chance of heat risk, and you could become extremely tired, dehydrated. Do not drink alcohol. Down in the southern part of California and pretty much all of Arizona is a code orange. Most of the continental United States, with the exception of the Dakotas up there, is in a code yellow, which is minor, and it's not going to affect you as bad as the areas in the code orange or magenta. They have changed my map. I looked at this earlier and kind of freaked out a little bit. They've changed my map. I think this is much better representation. This is the current air quality map. And when we look at it, we see all this area up here from the Dakotas extending back over to Buffalo is code brown with code red right in the center there. This is from the smoke coming from the Canadian wildfires. Other areas in the country, with the exception of where the wildfires actually are in Nevada and down in Arizona, probably because of the heat. Everywhere else, you're pretty much in a good air quality day. I like the changes they made to this map. I really do. It gives us a much better graphic of what the current air quality conditions are. And take a look real quick at the wildfires. We see, hold on, I muted myself again, I bet, didn't I? No, I didn't. All right, well, don't hit that button. We see the wildfires. This comes to us from our friends at the Forestry Service. Canada, wow, you just have so many fires up there. There's a new fire reported down here in, was it Tampa? And it is 645 acres, and it is not contained. And it's the Prairie Mine Fire. Where is that? That is just southeast of Tampa. That's a new fire that's popped up. We have one over here in Oklahoma City. It's also new. It is 358 acres. All these little red dots represent fires that are reported by satellite. And we look over here and we see on the West Coast, lots of areas in the Sierra Nevadas and Rocky Mountains where there are some fires, and Northern California. So that was the only new one I saw pop up down in the South. So look at the air quality from the smoke. And we see all those wildfires up in Canada is causing that stagnant, hot, smoky air to go down through the continental United States. It's not as dense as it is up in the Dakotas, but from Chicago back to pretty much the Canadian border, pretty hazy, pretty nasty, all the way over to Buffalo. New York, you've got some smoke from the Canadian wildfires. Much of New England does. That extends down to basically the Appalachia. So there's some light smoke conditions. Look at the entire world air quality. And once again, when we look at this, we see the dust coming off of the Sierras. Now we see this is broken right here, just there in the tropics. And what's happening is the energies from these storms is now going to be able to form some things. The current theory is that they're going to continue to the north-northeast and maybe only at the most form tropical storms and not be a danger to the United States. But the fear is these over here in the Atlantic that are trying to generate some electricity if they get the chance. But we see that that dust is still trying hard to get up from into the Gulf of America to the lower 48 from the Sierras. Australia, your air quality doesn't look too bad. From the wildfires there on the coastal areas, there's some dense smoke, but most of the rest of the country is pretty clear. Chris says, Canada has caused 3 phone air quality alerts today for him alone. Put your fires out, please. Yes, there are quite a few fires. I did read this. This was breaking when we went on. These areas of the country, and we're looking at pretty much from Chicago, really north of Chicago. We'll just say down Indianapolis, because I'm sure it's moved all the way up to Grand Forks, back over really to the entire Dakotas up there at the Canadian border. Code red, horrible air quality days. So yes, Chris, if Canadians could put out their wildfires, we'd be really pleased. All right, we're running out of time, and today we see these these storms out in the Pacific aren't really amounting to anything, and they're not really going to damage any of the continent or any of the United States. And look at here, there doesn't appear to be any storms formed. Latest earthquake, 2.5 in LA, I believe is what it said. Yes, just 2 hours ago. 2.1 in LA and 3.1 in LA, 4.3 in LA. They have been getting shook up. 3.0 and 4.7 was not in LA. I asked AI yesterday, just out of curiosity, what it predicted to be the next major disaster. And it said that due to the seismic activity, make sure I didn't mute myself here, due to the seismic activity, according to AI, they predict a major earthquake somewhere in the California to Seattle region. And as we were just talking about, look at all those earthquakes that have been occurring down in Los Angeles. So if you're on the West Coast, please heed warnings if you receive notifications. We look here, and I need to update this. The latest volcanic activity was in Russia, as we reported yesterday, and the latest earthquake activity is, as I just reported, over on the Pacific coast and into Southern California. We don't have time to do the event list today. We'll catch up with it tomorrow. We don't have time to do the New England FireNet or the crime live mat. Take a real quick gander at the United States. We'll zoom out and we will make it just the military. We see they're active doing training down in the Gulf of America. Something going on down here in Texas, probably just training. And then there's something going on over here in Southern California. That may be some type of activity. But that is the military aircraft up and moving at the moment. There are no real crazy airspace restrictions. I did see this one pop up here from White Sands Missile. It's national security, being as where it's from. I would say there's probably going to be some tests there due to its location and the shape of it coming out of White Sands. So that's the only notification I saw. Hold on, let me go up to Alaska. And Alaska, Donnelly Train, national security in Fairbanks. So, but that doesn't look to be anything more than, well, anything more, but some type of missile training. So that's all we have for there. The ship traffic, haven't noticed any changes in the past 2 days with the activity off of the coast of Russia. It appears that that did not affect anything with traffic, marine traffic. Lots of balloons up in the air around the world. Weather, amateur radio, who knows? I didn't get a chance to go over the fallen firefighters, fallen police officers, but we'll end like we usually do with Bitdefender. We were talking earlier about the attacks on businesses, and then they were talking about the attack up on Michigan. Total blank there. Whew. So with that, you see the reds are attacks and the yellows are infections. White is spam as usual. United States is getting peppered from what appears to be Asia and the Middle East. So do not open any emails from that rich prince that is now your cousin. So it could be trouble. We ran about a half hour over, but that's okay because that's pretty much the normal time since Jurgs and I got into a little bit of a skirmish. Anyone that wants to send me an email, I listed in the show notes, sportcat@protonmail.com. Or if you want to send me a voicemail, and I will play it, I'm brave enough, Sportcat, or go to speakpipe.com/Sportcat. You can leave me an anonymous message and I'll play it. I may have to beep out your dirty words, but I'll play it. Other than that, everybody have a great day. Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, we're covering the CBS reality TV show Big Brother. They're having a live eviction tonight, and we'll be talking about it, Harley and I, at 10 o'clock tonight Eastern time. It'll be available right here on all the Jurgs Radio, and it will be on Dare Media Talk. And of course, you can always come over, and we encourage you, because we're trying to get monetized here, to the Sportcat shows. Just search out Sportcat, SPORTCAT shows, and you'll find us. The para are normal guys. We spell it with a Z. Please come over and subscribe. We need your help to get monetized. So if you could do that, we would appreciate it. Everybody who jumped in here, I appreciate you being so patient. Dendra, Denise, Brenda, Chris, Wendell, you all are always great. KG, as always. Everybody have a great day. I will see you tonight. And for those of you that are only doing the Daily Gazette, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody, or day, everybody.